Imagine taking everything to love about an Aston Martin, the style, the glamour, the luxury, the performance and ability to cross continents, and then applying those traits to a four-door saloon car. Sounds like a match made in heaven, right? Not quite, because in the 1970s, Aston Martin had a go at a four-door saloon, and the result was the Lagonda, a car that went massively over budget, sold in puny numbers, proved hugely controversial, and almost bankrupted the company. So after the disaster that was the Lagonda, Aston Martin would surely be crazy to have a go at another four-door saloon, right? But that's exactly what they did in 2010 with this, the Rapide. So is it a case of second time lucky for a four-door Aston, or is this just following in the Lagonda's failed footsteps? Well, I'm going to take this very early Rapide for a drive today and find out. But first, our friends at Lancaster Insurance are running monthly giveaways. You can win all sorts, from experience days to tools, restaurant vouchers and tech. So click the link below at the end of the video to enter their latest competition. After the slightly troubled 1980s, Aston Martin was on something of a roll come the late 90s and early 2000s. Cars like the V8 Vantage and the DB9 had made the company ice cool again. They were selling in good numbers and Hollywood's elite were keen to be seen in them. Aston's CEO Ulrich Bez was keen for the company to continue expanding, and he looked to countries like China and the Middle East, where the rear seat passengers are most important, buy in big numbers, and they're happy to spend big amounts of money on their cars from companies like Rolls-Royce and Bentley. Bez decided that Aston Martin should compete in this space too, particularly when he saw that fellow exotic car makers Maserati and Porsche were also making four-door luxury supercars. But unlike those two companies, Aston didn't really have the budget for a ground-up saloon car platform, so they took the basis of their ever-popular DB9 and gave it to their head designer Marek Reichman. Taking the DB9's VH, or vertical horizontal platform, he stretched the car 250mm, added a liftback tail and grafted two extra doors into the body, and the result was a gorgeous bit of design. By kind of blending in the B pillar and that swoop-up tail, not to mention the very low roofline, which is a full 2.5 inches lower than a Porsche Panamera, you end up with a car that, in the right colour from the right angles, doesn't even actually look like a saloon. It just looks like a big, swoopy coupe. It's every bit as elegant, classy and stylish as an Aston Martin should be. Whereas the design looked to the future, the name looked to the past. And we'll go back to that Lagonda saloon of the 1970s. By this point, Lagonda was part of Aston Martin, and they decided for their new four-door saloon, they'd take inspiration from one of Lagonda's cars of the 1960s, the Lagonda Rapide, a high-end, stylish, high-performance luxury saloon that had been built by Aston Martin. Come 2006 at the North American Auto Show, the new Aston Martin Rapide concept debuted, and the public adored it. So well received was the new car, in fact, that by the 2009 Frankfurt show, a production-ready version of the Rapide was revealed, and the first four-door Aston Martin for around 30 years was finally put on sale. Beautiful the Rapide might have been, but the beauty was more than skin deep, because like pretty much all Astons by that point, it had the right heart. Aston's 6-litre 5.9 V12, 450 horsepower in a DB9, but the Rapide was uprated to 480 to carry the extra weight, and the result, a weapon. Oh, it's just fantastic. This massive, heavy four-door saloon does 0 to 60 in 5.2 seconds, and it'll top out at 188 miles an hour. Might not be quite as finely honed as a Porsche engine, but oh, that noise makes you forget any fuel consumption issues this thing might have, which it does. It does about 15 to the gallon. So it's big and it's heavy and it's fast. Is it just a one-trick pony muscle car then? Far from it. The Rapide featured plenty of clever Aston engineering, like a transaxle gearbox layout that put the gearbox into the back axle for a near-perfect 49-51 weight distribution. This luxury limo is a remarkably capable sports car. It feels big, be in no doubt this is a massive car, but it shrinks around you on a little road like this. The steering is so nicely weighted, nice and heavy, and it really does know how to account for itself incredibly well on undulating surfaces. doesn't feel its weight of nearly 2 tons, turns in sharply, the body control is incredible for a car so big, and the brakes, whoa. When you come to turn it around, it is big. I mean, really big. This is an enormous car, and frankly, if you don't spec parking sensors, you're a fool. It's enormous, and you do notice it threading it through town. But when you're done hooning it around on the B roads, you can put it back into D and just relax and cruise. And when you do, you're greeted with a wonderful interior in the Rapide. Gloss black details, shiny surrounds on the gauges, those backwards needles on the rev counter and the speedo that swing away as they get higher. It's just a gorgeous place to be. Granted, that glass key that you slot into the dash is a little bit gimmicky, and frankly, that's the only bit of this interior I don't like, because other than that, it wears incredibly well and it makes you feel special, even if you're just pootling to the shops. But it's not all sweetness and light with the Rapide. For a start, in an effort to give this car that slender sports car-esque profile, it's got a very low roofline. Sit in the back where the roofline starts to taper away as you go into that lift-back tail, and you're greeted with even less headroom in a Rapide. Not to mention, legroom is at a bit of a premium as well, even if you push the front seats forward. It also can feel a little bit claustrophobic, particularly in the back where the window line is even higher. Not to mention, the boot is only okay, and because of the shape of the boot floor, you're probably not going to be putting a set of skis back there for your trip to the Alps. And unfortunately, there's more. When it was new, the Rapide was £140,000. Then consider that its rivals from Maserati and Porsche were around £50,000 less. With that price tag, it's small wonder the Rapide wasn't a commercial success. Initially, this car was built in the Magna Steyr factory in Austria, anticipating there'd be so many orders that they'd need the extra manufacturing plant to meet demand. When these cars were selling at a rate of less than 2,000 units a year, production was moved to Aston Martin's Gaydon factory as soon as the room became available, and the Rapide never met its 2,000 unit a year projection. In fact, it only sold just over 2,800 units in total. So it was expensive, cramped, not actually that practical, hugely thirsty, and a commercial flop. Not to mention it depreciates like a stone. You can buy a Rapide now for less than a third of that original 140 grand price tag. So it's a failure then? Well, yes and no. Because on the one hand, it does follow in the Lagonda's footsteps. It's a bit out there, unusual. It didn't sell in massive numbers, and ultimately it didn't make commercial sense. But look at it another way. Because buying a Rapide today from around 35 grand, you can get a 6-litre V12 luxury car with those breathtaking looks, this gorgeous interior, sports car level of performance, and the ability to put the kids in the back and get a boot full of shopping as well. It's a bit of a bargain. And when you think how undervalued Lagondas were at one point, the prices on these can surely only go one way. Look at the commercial success, or lack thereof, of the Lagonda and the Rapide, and it's easy to conclude that Aston Martin probably shouldn't bother trying to make a 4-door saloon car, and I'd probably agree with you. But we sure do love it when they have a go.
This video is proudly sponsored by Lancaster Insurance. Give them a call on 01480 400 889 for an insurance quote on your classic car. And don't forget to click the link below to enter their latest competition.